VPN decided to just take a dive and just completely die.
I do know what the problem was now. Don't have more than one VPN connected through your OpenVPN
configuration to try hack me. Don't do that. It's dumb. Hey, good morning. So today we're going to do Rootme over again. This time it's going to be a rabbit hole episode. That means we're going to dive a little deeper. I'm going to try to go slower, talk about things, and help you to pick up some stuff. We're still going to use AI very heavily on this one because I still feel like that's what we need to do to continue to move forward and to learn and not get left behind. With that, let's go Rootme again, this time a lot slower. Okay, I think we're ready to go. Got keyboard here, got some coffee.
because that's always good.
You can see I've got Rootme open. Scroll down, we've got an IP address. I've already got the box set up. It's got 56 minutes left. We've already beat this machine once, but we're going to go again here. And we're going to take this a little slower. Okay, so remember I've got SGPT installed. If you don't have SGPT installed, then you can look at one of my other videos where I have that. I'll have the video where I install SGPT in the description. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to SGPT and we're going to ask it for Nmap.
And I'm going to put the IP in here. Oh, I can't do that because I'm not. It is 10.10.243.88.
Watch this. Classic IPsec flags. IPsec is a guy who is fairly famous on YouTube. If you've never checked out IPsec's videos, they're really good. I used to watch them back in the day. Here we go. We've asked it to give us classic IPsec flags, and it did. Nmap SC SV ON. Oh, that's not right. It should be OA. IPsec scan.
Blah, blah, blah.
We don't want to run this. We want to hit describe because you need to be learning how these things work. It's going to tell us here that Nmap runs a network scan. And when we say a network scan, we just mean that it is checking out the IP and it's looking for open ports. I'm going to take just a second and talk about ports here. When I was first starting out, I used to always wonder what the heck a port is. Why do we talk about ports all the time? What are they? I guess when you think about a port, you can literally think about it like a real C port. And you can think about the fact the computer has arbitrary inlets. I don't know what to call them other than that. Like arbitrary ways of ingress into the machine, and they're numbered. And if something is already in that slot, is in that numbered slot, you can't have anything else in it. And so I guess that's the reason we have it as ports. You will hear about things like sockets. That's a little different. The socket still uses a port, but you just need to think about it like that. Maybe if we think about it like parking spaces, all the parking spaces are numbered. If that parking space is taken, you can't take it with another car. So if there's a car in the parking space, you can't have another car in the parking space. So only one service can run on a port. The other thing we talk about is the port open? So even though there's this giant parking lot of ports, there is most likely a giant orange cone inside that parking space that signifies that that parking space has been shut off. You can't park in the parking space with the giant orange cone in it. So what Nmap is doing is Nmap is driving around that parking lot, looking at all those parking spaces, trying to see if any of them are open or if you could nudge one of those cones out of the way and park in there anyway. That's what we're trying to do. We can see here that the Nmap scan that we're doing is SC,
which stands for run default scripts.
Nmap can run scripts against these ports, and we'll continue learning more about that as we go along, but there are default scripts that help us get some quick information. SV stands for
probe open ports to determine service and version information.
We didn't specify a number of ports or which ports, so it will use the top 1,000 ports. Then we have this ON, and that stands for output, and in this case it's in, and it's just going to do text. That's not really what we want. We really want output A for all, and that'll give us all the outputs that it can do. So we're going to go ahead and hit abort, and now we're going to copy this, and we're going to paste it. Remember, it's Control-Shift-V to paste inside a Linux terminal. And we were going to change this to A for all. We are in the correct, always make sure you're in your the right directory that you want to be in. We're in repos notes rootme rabbit hole. I'm going to run the Nmap scan. Remember, you can press the space bar while the Nmap scan is running to see how much time is left. Right now it's about done. And there we go. Now we already knew from our previous scan that it had 2 ports that it found that were open. One was 22. 22 is the port for SSH. Now remember, when we say that 22 is SSH, what we mean is that is best practice. Best practice is to put SSH on port 22. You can put SSH on any port you want, but 22 is what is considered best practice or normal or the standard place that you would see SSH. The other one is port 80. Port 80 is HTTP as opposed to port 443, which is HTTPS. The HTTPS, it's going to run on port 443. Again, it is not a hard and fast rule. That is the standard. That's the way it normally is. And 80 is normally HTTP. As we keep going through these boxes, you're going to see machines that try to trick you.
Try to be tricky.
And we'll try to run HTTP on other ports. Or port 80 is already, like we said, the parking space is already full and they have to use a different port because you're running more than one service on a machine. So down here, remember, we ran the default scripts, and so because we ran default scripts, we got the server header, the title for the web page is this Hack IT Home, so we got some stuff. If we were doing this and we were brand new and we didn't know what to do, this is where I encourage you to use AI and say,
I am working on a CTF box on Try Hack Me. I ran Nmap and found that port 80 and 22 are open, period. What are my options?
And by the way, we're in the recon phase right now. The thing you want to do when you're doing these CTF boxes is you want to work on running recon. And when we say recon, we just mean reconnaissance. And we mean that we're trying to gather as much information as possible about the box itself so that we know how to be able to break it. All right, so it says here port 80, check for web applications running on port 80. Well, we can do that. Let's do that right now. We already know that there is. If we go to port 80.
10.10.243.88. Did I get it right? 10.10.243.88. Yeah, I did. Get it right.
All right, there it is. And yes, there is a web page running on port 80. Okay, so we've checked that. Perform a directory and file enumeration using tools like GoBuster or DirBuster. Let's try that. So again, we're going to use SGPT again because we don't know. Now remember, if you use /s, then you know that, then you're telling SGPT that you want to specifically look for a command. You're not looking for a full explanation like this. You just, like we did earlier, notice I ran SGPT-S here about the Nmap, and all it did was give me the command and then tell me if I wanted to execute, describe, or abort. So in this case, again, we want to do the S. We want to do GoBuster. We need to put in a directory scan on. Let's go ahead and give it the IP so that it can put that in the command for us. That's it. Let's just do that and see what it gives us. And look, it gave it to us. Again, let's go ahead and hit describe so that you should be trying to learn how these commands work. So when we run describe here, it says GoBuster dir
is a command used for performing directory and file brute forcing against web servers to discover potentially unlisted resources.
So here's the thing. Just because when we look at this page, trying to figure out, there's literally nowhere to click. Right? Like it just says Rootme. We can right click and view the page source. There is a comment in here, but there's nothing in it. That's one of the things you look for is comments. It looks like that's it. There's just nothing else, right? Wrong. That's not right. There could be all kinds of further directories in here. And if you watch the other video, we already know we're going to get an admin and an uploads directories, but how would you know they were there without you just sitting here and going,
okay, is there a CSS folder waiting? Going, no, I guess not. Is there a whatever folder?
That would take forever. So there are tools that have been created. Kali gives us word lists in user share. And in this case, actually it's using common. I don't want to use common. We want to use the medium one. So let's wonder what happens if we hit abort here and I hit up. Good, there it is.
Use medium word list.
User share word list, DirBuster directory list 2.3 medium. The reason it's DirBuster is that's the older tool, and it's still, DirBuster is still in here. I don't know if these word lists always came with DirBuster, but that's just where traditionally Kali has kept them. I don't want to hit execute, and the reason I don't want to you could hit execute here and it would just be off to the races. But we don't want to do that, because if we do that, this command doesn't get stored in our history. And remember, we want to be able to do that. So let's hit abort. There's one more thing we want to do, and that's there's no output.
And an output results to a file.
It's going to, output GoBuster results.txt. That's what we want. Still going to abort. And now we're going to copy this with Control-Shift-C, and we're going to paste it with Control-Shift-V. Now we're going to run it. And now there we go. Now we have GoBuster running. Now we have uploads, CSS. Nice. Let's go over to our cursor over on our other machine, because remember, I have this machine connected to my Kali box. And here's the Rootme RabbitHole folder that I have. And inside the Rootme RabbitHole folder, we've already got the GoBuster results. And one of the things I love is that GoBuster writes to the file while it's running. So it doesn't have to finish to be able to give us these results, which is great. And we could kill this right now because we've already got enough. Now, if you were doing a very difficult box, you would want to let this thing run all the way through. There could be some wild folder names in there. It's sometimes better to just let it run. Now, in this case, this is an easy box. We see there's an uploads, a CSS, a JS, and a panel. And I think those are the only ones we need. But a good rule of thumb is you can just kind of move this off to the side. We can go over here and we can start exploring these and just let this keep running in the background just in case it finds something else. Okay, so now in this case, obviously the one we want to look at immediately is uploads. Now we did this last time too. We see here that this is an index of uploads. This isn't really like a web app to be able to hit a button and submit and to upload a file. This is a folder. See, it's a /uploads. It's a folder where the uploads are being stored. You're actually getting a directory listing of the uploads folder. We're not sure where exactly it is on the machine, but it's there. When you use Apache like this, it'll let you try to move around. So if we click parent directory, it doesn't look like that's going to work. I'm going to close this because we're probably beating that poor box to death with all those requests. So you hit the parent directory and nothing. It's not going to let us look. It's not going to let us move up the directory tree. So we know what that one is. Okay, so I'm going to stop this one right here. This is where my VPN decided to just take a dive and just completely die. I do know what the problem was now. Don't have more than one VPN connected through your OpenVPN configuration to try hack me. Don't do that. It's dumb. It doesn't work, and it makes your VPN crash. That's long enough for this episode. It's plenty long enough right now. Tune in for the next rabbit hole, and we'll keep diving deep on this Rootme box. See you next time.